Welcome back to a Swans Walk. This week, we've got Swansea fans coming out of the woodwork saying the opposite to what we said on last week's podcast, which was we should now give it to Sheehan till the end of the season. So our question is this: should we just take our time and just give it to Sheehan till the end of May? And we're talking about Vigoro at his best, of course, as well as we review that famous win against Blackburn Rovers. We're looking at the March fixtures for the Swans. Just how many points will they pick up in the next month? And are Swansea already safe? We'll get Rich, James and James's view on that in a second. Plus, who would we love to see relegated from the division? Not that answer. Any others other than them, of course. Let's have a chat to our panel. Rich Bond, James Fleming, and of course, James himself. Thank you very much for joining us. It's 20 minutes of Swansea chat. And Rich, we're going to go straight into it, if that's okay, with the following question. I'm not sure how many people... Oh, sorry, Phil says, I'm not sure how people can't like the guy. He's humble, he talks well, he brings all the squad into it, and he talks up the players. It's a great result and performance today. Well done, lads. So there we go. Sheehan should get it till May, Rich, shouldn't he?
Well, playoff push, maybe, boys. Maybe. What do you think? No, it's one game. It was a lot better. It was a really good, positive performance. But we talked last week about bouncing back, and that kind of respect after losing the manager. They didn't have the same sort of mentality we did. We wanted it on the day, and we played some good football. But come on, it's a bit early to be giving them a job already.
Nathan says, F me, I was dead against Alan Sheehan taking the reins, but what an unbelievable performance. Attack after attack, a clean sheet, massive 3 points. The guy's an absolute legend. Happy Saturday. Up the Jacks. I'm going to regret doing this, but James, what's your opinion on Sheehan?
Delighted we won. Right. I'll just say I'm delighted we won, okay? And it was hard not to be happy that the players improving there, but I'll stick to my initial assessment. Is if you look at those games from last season where he was in charge, again, there's not an awful lot there that gets me out of my seat. All we did was the basics, right? We got players around Peart-harris, we scrapped for second balls, we tried to move it forward a little bit quicker, and people are glazing him as if he's the second coming of Pep after one good game out of 8 games he's had for us now. Let's not jump the gun. We need a complete reset here. I would say they need to get someone in before the end of the season, let them get their ideas in. I stand by my point that I want someone external to come in, and I want us to really start again and start to put the groundwork in for next season.
Do you want that person in a couple of weeks then, James, or what's your timeline?
I'd say I'd take about a month, maybe 6 weeks, not the end of the season, because I know, and Rich and James, you'll know this as well, that the longer that things drag on at this club, they tend to take a lot longer again. And let's be honest, the people making the decisions behind the scenes have shown that they're not exactly great at making the best judgment calls. So I just think that they'll get sucked into short-termism again if we keep him on to the end of the season, and they'll end up just going with him full time. That's just my opinion, but I think get someone in now, give them essentially that free hit, and then win a better place come the summer.
Should we have a look at his statistics overall? James, thank you, Scott, for this one. Sheehan has 8 matches and a 1.75 points per game average. Compare that with Martin, 1.36, Williams, 1.17, Duff, 1.14. And Scott says, is the optimal leader already in the building? And can more time be allowed to see if this quality continues? So, other James, are you having that?
Look, I don't want him to get the job permanently, as in post this season, but I have no issues with keeping him on to the end of the season now. I thought the only reason I would have said no is if we were in the relegation danger, but 10 points clear, there's not a hope in hell we're going down now. I just think if they wanted someone who was available now, they would have had him in already, or he'd be very close to being done. But by the looks of things, we're not in a rush to do anything, and I don't think we need to rush. We showed, I personally think Blackburn's the best we've played all season by a country mile. 7 big chances created is unheard of at this level in any game. And to do that 3-0 against a team in the playoffs is really impressive. But I just think there's no rush. Just let him have it till the end of the season and then reevaluate and get the person you want rather than rushing into a decision now. And then in 6 months time thinking, oh my God, why didn't we just wait a few months to get the right guy?
Okay. Yeah, it was a fantastic result. We can't take that away from him, can we? Jamie says, freedom from Williams and Grimes finally showed. Franco was incredible. The best MPH performance since joining. It could have been a different story if not for Viggs making 2 top saves onwards and upwards. We'll talk about the goalkeeper in a second. Richard, are you safe, by the way? Do you think the points that you got, or do you think 1 more win, 2 more wins will be enough?
Yeah, you got to get points on the board. It's you can't think you're safe because then you get dragged into stuff and it spirals. But we were fantastic. We played well, and I think bringing that up now, Franco, and also Lewis O'Brien. That was a lovely little partnership going on there. Both of them together were like dogs in midfield. They were snapping at Blackburn. They didn't really expect that physicality to come from us, which is a completely new thing for us. But it's something you can build on there, I think, and. Selling Matt Grimes, Coventry may be loving it, but we may have picked up somebody that made us better as a team.
Yeah, it's fair to say Coventry are loving it at the moment. He's one of their favourite.
We'll see him next year.
Favourite players. Just a couple words of obviously the reaction from the players when now Williams has gone. This was a tweet I wanted to get your opinions on, James. Scotty says the silence from all the players since Williams has left has said everything, really. There's only Franco that wished him well. That means it was clear the camp was unhappy, which was shown in performances since the new year. Let's hope Saturday's a turning point for our season, obviously written before that one. Do you I mean, now the dust has settled a little bit on Williams leaving, do you get a bigger sense of kind of what things weren't happy between him and the players?
Yeah, I'd say so. And I think you could see that from the way he was talking about players after the games as well. I think those players had gone through 4, 5, 6 weeks of Williams sort of coming out and sort of slating them in his post-match press conferences. And you can imagine that going back into training on a Monday morning, that's not going to be a happy environment, is it? So I personally think that they did stop playing for him in the end. And it is strange that only one guy sort of come out and wished him well. Like I said, no, I don't feel ill will towards Williams, but I think he didn't handle himself the best towards the end of his reign. With the West Brom saga, you could say that's down to a lack of commitment, and then again blaming the players at every available turn and not really sort of looking at himself and the mistakes he was making. So again, speculation, but it's hard. It's not hard to see why perhaps some of the players weren't very happy.
Okay. Good stuff. We always like to shout out players when, of course, they're doing well or not so well. And this next one, James, is I think probably your most consistent performer throughout the whole season, if I'm not mistaken. Lawrence Vigoro. Chris says a couple of binding saves first half. Rob says amazing saves, Taylor, kept us in it. Full team performance, well done. Just, do you think he's one of the most underrated goalkeepers in the Championship? Your guy?
I'd say so, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you can't really argue with his involvement this season. He's been unbelievable for basically the entire season. He had a few shaky games, but it was in the run where we were just terrible as a whole, so it wasn't really anything to focus on him for. But as I said, it says mental to say kept us in it when we won 3-0 at home. But I think it was 2 minutes in, that Weimann header across goal. That's a great save to keep us 0-0 there. And if that goes in, all of a sudden you're 1-0 down, and then you're chasing the game. It could be a whole different story, but. I think, you can't really argue with what he's done. He's been unbelievable for us in the game and didn't cost us anything for a start, just as an extra point on top of it. And, everyone had their doubts. He hasn't played for 2 years, or he's only ever played at League 2, League 1 level, but he's come in and I'd say he's probably top 5, 8 goalkeepers in the division. I can't really think of too many that are better than him at the minute.
Good shout. There's no game this weekend, though, Rich, because Preston are involved in the FA Cup, so it's Tuesday night for you. Next. Before we get to that, any other players that need a shout out for that Blackburn performance before we move on from it completely?
Well, like I said, Lewis O'Brien, he was brilliant. I thought very good, and for Partnick, he's good work rate on him this week. He seems to be a player who's taking a bit of a new lease of life. Maybe the managerial change will help him. Josh Key was back in the side. Maybe perhaps he'd been dropped before the end of Williams' reign, settling back in, but we changed to back 4. So it was a good team performance, I think, throughout. On also peart-harris as well, solid performance from him. So there's somebody who's a bit of a differential. There's a bit mixed views with the fans, but I'm a big fan. I
think we did a video back in November saying peart-harris is brilliant. I think if you can go back and watch that. And one final thing from Paul says, thank goodness I'll never have to listen to those dreadful Williams post-match interviews ever again. All's looking good then in South Wales. But let's have a look at March, shall we, and see just how rosy this month may or may not look, James. So Preston away on Tuesday night to come, and then home games against Middlesbrough and Burnley, and obviously an away trip to Leeds. So it's not the easiest of month for the Swans. How many points do you reckon you'll pick up from this 15?
So I think I fancy just a win at Preston. I really do. If we can carry that momentum from Saturday, I fancy just a win at Preston. I'd say a draw at Watford. Can't see us getting anything at Ellen Road. I'm really sorry. Again, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but it's just not a happy hunting ground for us. Again, take a point at home at Middlesbrough. I think they're more than capable. Burnley, again, and maybe another point. We did play really well against them earlier on in the season, but we had their number a little bit. And a win against Derby, I think. Beating Derby at home is one of those games you look at. No disrespect to Derby, we should be beating them when they come down here.
Yeah. Okay. Any disagreements from anyone there?
Well, I think Preston, we put up one of our best performances at the beginning of the season against them as well. We beat them 3-0 as well, so that could really get the ball going. But the Leeds and Burnley games are going to be tough, but the rest are very winnable, I think.
Yeah, okay. Stay with us, obviously, as we go through each week and count down to those fixtures. 12 games left to go. Can you believe it that we are now at the end of this? I mean, of all the teams, I think Swansea have had the biggest roller coaster kind of ride not this season. 1 minute we're talking playoffs, the next we're talking relegation. But good to get that win at the weekend, just to stave off any chat about relegation. And that's the picture we look at now. There are 9 teams which mathematically could still go down. We think Swansea are safe, but we'll still count you in that picture for the time being. So asking you as a fan base, which fan base would you like to see the back of and instantly relegate? Now, we're not allowing you to say Cardiff because that would just make a very boring end to the video. So which fan base gets on your nerves the most? James?
Me.
Oh, I'm going to say Stoke City because there's just something. Yeah, there's just some. Yeah, so I'm going to say Stoke City. There's just something about them that just never sits right with the Swans, and of course, Sam Lucas played for them. Yeah, get Stoke out of the division, and they're dodgy owners as well who can spend hundreds of millions of pounds. So yeah, get them out of the league.
Okay, Sam Lucas gets a mention on here a lot, doesn't he? Jimmy?
I say Cardiff. If you take Cardiff as your token, I think if I had to pick the two of us to go down with them, I'd do Derby and Pompey. Just don't really like Derby, no real reason behind it. And Pompey just beat us 4-0 at Fratton Park, and I had to suffer on New Year's Day with a bit of a dodgy hangover for going all the way to Pompey on New Year's Day for a 4-0 battering in the rain. So for that alone, I think they can go down.
Okay. Rich?
Boys are pretty spot on. Stoke have to go. They went down with us when we went down, didn't they, for the Premier League? It's long-standing hatred going on there, like a little bit. Hull, we've had a battle with over the years as well, quite a lot. Yeah, maybe get rid of them. And Pompey, yeah, that 4-0 spanking wasn't good. So, yeah, There we are.
All right, brilliant. Right, we shall then let you go. Let us know in the comments what you think. You can put the team that you want to see go down and the reason for it and read some of those out next week. Right, enjoy your trip to Deepdale then. We'll meet next week. So in 2 weeks' time, join us when we'll review it all again. Thank you very much for watching. Do drop us a subscribe and a like if you haven't already done so. And thank you guys for joining us. See you next week.